I just need to let you know who we are, because sometimes we have people brand new who've never seen this. So if you've seen this before, just check your email there for a few seconds while I get through this. First of all, I'm going to introduce myself. My name is Patrick Phillips, and I'm the founder and CEO of American Business Systems. We help people get into the medical billing business. We do that by educating them on these webinars every Wednesday at 3 p.m. Central Time. So if you want to attend as many of these as you wish, you're welcome to do that. I am a published author. If you'd like to verify who I am, just go out to Amazon.com and type in the name of either one of these two books, or you can go to your local bookstore and probably find these books as well. The one on the left is just one that I wrote a few years back when I semi-retired and started writing and speaking more publicly. I also wrote the Cash Crunch to Cash Flow here recently with a friend of mine who's a CPA, because this is a marketing tool that you'll be able to use as an ABS licensee. That is, somebody who has signed up and gone through our training. That's what we call them, licensees. You'll be able to use this as a marketing tool yourself. Ours is a web-based medical billing system, which means you can use this on any computer or any device that's connected to the internet 24/7. That's right, computers, PCs, Macs, tablets, iPads, mini iPads, iPhones, Android phones, anything that will connect to the internet. You can do medical billing and do everything to run this business right from that device. I mean, I'm talking about on a beach in Hawaii, on a cruise ship, in a library. It doesn't matter as long as you can get an internet connection. It is a web-based system, and yet it is as user-friendly as anything you've ever seen and as advanced as anything that's out there in the software world. We'll be glad to show you more about this. You just need to get a hold of us as a company and let us kind of walk you through that. If you haven't seen our website, by the way, here's the name of it right up at the top. The address is absystems.com. Just go there, click around, read as much as you can about the business package itself that that you would invest in if you got involved with us, the income potential that you could have as an ABS licensee doing medical billing for doctors, and of course there's lots of other information. But don't miss those two orange buttons there on the screen, because if you want to get into what we call our virtual brochure, here's what it looks like. And it has much, much more than even our website has on it. We call it a virtual brochure because this is what we used to send out on a DVD. It has lots of videos in each one of the sections you see there at the top for opportunity, how we help you get clients, the training that's involved with our company, the support that you get afterwards, which is lifetime support, and, of course, all the technology that's behind what we have developed over the past 19 years. We are members of the Healthcare Billing and Management Association. There's their website at the top. You can check us out there and also find out more about that organization. They have a voice in Washington for medical billers, and so we are very supportive of this group as they are of us and our licensees. We also have an A+ rating with the Fort Worth Better Business Bureau, so if you want to Google Fort Worth Better Business Bureau, or BBB, you can actually go to our page there on the Better Business Bureau site and see there in the bottom left-hand corner, you can see from a scale of A+ to F, we have an A+. It doesn't get any better than that. And you don't get that, folks, after 19 years of doing business unless you're doing something right. You can also do your due diligence and kind of vet us as a company by actually coming down here. We're in Fort Worth. It's a little suburb called Keller, but fly into the DFW airport, call us up and let us know that you're here. We'll pick you up at the airport and to let you take a tour of our offices, sit with all of our executives, our support people. You can find out more about our opportunity and ask all the questions you want. And we won't even ask you to buy anything before you leave. Now, we do regular live training. We're the only company in America that does training on medical billing in a live classroom situation. As you can see from the picture, we bring in laptops. We let you actually put your hands on and do some medical billing right there during that class. The classroom only holds 20 people, and it's held at a hotel here in Dallas. Our next class is coming up in January 14th through 18th. I'll tell you more about that towards the end of the webinar. So let's get started, and let me introduce to you our guest for today, Dr. Combest, Sally Combest. She's a practicing physician with more than 20 years experience, and she's a clinical associate professor at the University of Texas Science Center in San Antonio. She served as vice president of Lamar Anesthesia Associates for many years and is currently founder and CEO of Primedicus Consulting Incorporated. Dr. Combest, are you with us?
I'm here. Good afternoon.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome to the show today. I thank you so much for taking out time to be on here because we've got lots of people who are logging in still, showing up here for this. So there's a lot of interest in hearing from you. You obviously, as a medical doctor, have a lot of background, and I just wanted to ask you some questions about why you decided to kind of move from the clinical side of medicine, I guess that's how we'd put it as a practicing physician, into, I guess we'd call it the business side, right?
Very much so. That's what I call it when I'm talking to people. There's more to medicine for physicians than practicing medicine. There's no way around it.
Yes, in fact, you told me about something out there. I forget what it was, some kind of convention or something a year or so that you'd gone to that was just for doctors who wanted to find out about getting out of the clinical side, right?
Yeah, it's kind of a sign of the times. It's an organization that does help physicians look for non-clinical type physicians. Anything from it's a huge networking meeting for physicians, maybe to connect with pharmaceutical companies, research, entrepreneurial options. There's even one big weekend for physicians who want to be published authors. Usually for fiction. So docs are in a lot. That's not my forte. We'll leave it at that. I don't think I could be another Michael Crichton, whatever, with all the books that he wrote. But there's sometimes kind of some unsettling feelings amongst the medical community. There's no way around it. I still practice clinically, part-time, and I do enjoy it. I enjoy taking care of patients, but I've been involved in academic medicine now for 8 years after a stint in private practice. And I was actually in charge of resident physician education for part of that time and realized, boy, we don't teach our, physicians in training anything about how to run a practice. And it was part of what kind of led me to meeting with you and getting involved with your company and becoming a licensee, because we are, I think, very well trained in the United States to practice good medicine, but it's unfortunately so much more complicated than that. And so my business idea is not only let me help with the billing aspect, but branching out and increasing more of the other things that I can help physicians with their practice. And there's a lot to it. There's the entire world of human resources and labor law. We're not taught that,
Oh, yeah. No, that's not a part of your medical school training at all, I guess.
No, that and OSHA and, the financial end of the business, and billing is its whole little world. And we physicians are just woefully undertrained in those aspects of a practice. It's all about how to take care of patients. And then there you go, new Dr. Smith, good luck. Go open your practice. You're finished training.
Right. Yeah. I don't tell doctors this, of course, when I'm speaking with a physician, but deep down inside, I happen to know that they are not the best business people in the world because, again, that's not where their training was. Is that a nice way to put it?
That's about as nice as you could put it, especially considering you're saying it to a physician right now. But we do know that is out there and may be true to some extent. In fact, part of my process in getting going with ABS and my own license was in reviewing with the physician, contract review, et cetera, and his parting words to me, oh my gosh, how embarrassing, was something to that very effect. Well, doctors are just terrible business people. I mean,
this was another doctor telling you that, huh?
No, this was an attorney.
Oh, really? An attorney,
this was an attorney reviewing the contract and talking about how, and this was basically his parting shot. We had stood up to exit the office, and then he starts relating to me about the doctor who, blew all this money in a winery, and another one who invested in a movie, and my response to him was, I'm investing in something that I know a little something about,
Yes.
And we'll be learning a lot more about, because, billing for physicians and all the other people that can be billed for it's not necessarily one size fits all. I'm very comfortable and knew coming in what all was involved in anesthesia billing, but there's a lot of differences depending on the specialty. But I walked out of there like, wow, what a, he still charged me.
Yeah, still bills you for your time, right?
Yeah, still charged me a fee.
What was it about the whole aspect of a doctor's, financial situation that got you thinking about the fact that maybe you should, get involved in the medical billing business?
Well, currently, in my clinical endeavor is with a large institution, and I'm not really directly involved in the billing for that. But I would still interact with people in the billing department, and the questions that I would hear. And then I went to an anesthesia practice management conference in Vegas 2 or 3 years ago. And so it included anesthesiologists, practice managers, and people who bill for anesthesiologists, whether they're outsourced companies like this versus in-house ones. And I decided to sit in on one of the conference meetings that was aimed at the billers. And yeah, and so I'm in a room with probably 300 people from all across the nation. And, I have to applaud them for wanting to go to this conference and learn more, because billing is, to the point where, there is a knowledge base to be gained and things to learn. And some of the questions that I heard just made my jaw drop. And I thought, well, and I actually got up and answered one of them. But what it got me to thinking was, why aren't these billers talking to their physicians? Because they were clinical-related questions. And these people were not necessarily, had a lot of clinical background. And I got to kind of thinking, well, maybe a doctor starting a company could provide maybe that one little piece, because doctors are not experts in billing. So I'm not saying I walked into it knowing everything about billing. Yeah. But I thought, well, maybe my little bit of extra knowledge might tweak things here and there, and at the same time really expand my knowledge of the whole billing process. And it's been interesting and eye-opening at times, and it's actually been kind of disheartening when I have talked with physicians in their practices and how woefully out of whack their in-house billing processes can be. And it really just speaks to the fact that, I think that if they many times, if they are outsourced to a company that is well-versed with the software and who does nothing but dealing with this all day, every day, they're focused on obtaining all the money for the physician and not necessarily focused in all the interactions within a medical practice. I think it's distracting. And it's two very different missions. One is patient care and one is getting the money.
Right.
Yeah.
And you're right. They're not actually, most of the staff in a doctor's office, they're not usually trained. They don't go to any kind of school about doing the billing. They kind of learn usually on the job, don't they, from the person who was there before them, for example.
Yeah, exactly. Either from the people that were there before, or with the adoption of EMRs, they get maybe a little bitty mini crash course from the EMR vendors, since some of that's tied together. But, ABS spends an entire week kind of showing you what needs to be done. Here's the computer. Here's the software. This is what you do. In addition to a lot of the other benefits of how to start a business, tips on how to get going, what to look for, what to ask. Those were all great benefits. And I personally did the same thing. I looked into more than one option. And the big reason that I chose ABS was because of that week on site of learning that you provided.
Yeah, that's pretty crucial for most people. Now, we have had people, believe it or not, invest with us, become a licensee, and just go through our, all the materials that we ship out to people. We have lots of videos that go out, and of course a home study course and a big, huge guide to medical billing and so forth. So there have been people who've gone out and built their business, without coming down to the training. But wow, we've seen the success rate between those who do and those who don't come to the live workshop, and that is huge.
Well, so, I'll impress it upon your listeners this way. Even the doctor went to your on-site training.
Yeah, there you go. Even you felt like you needed what we gave. Well, that's an interesting question. I'm going to actually open up the question box here, folks. Anybody who wants to ask Dr. Combest, a question by typing it into the question box there, you're welcome to do that. But while they're doing that, let me ask you this, Dr. Combest. You just mentioned a while ago, about the fact that you didn't have a whole lot of background. What did you know about the billing and even the coding side before you came through our training?
The main thing that I knew about coding and what your licensees will learn is, there's a code for every diagnosis and there's a code for every procedure, and that's part of, that's an integral part of the billing. From my aspect, I knew, when I was submitting my paperwork in to get it, in for the billing, and then even when I was in private practice, our small group, we were a 5-physician group in a smaller city in Texas, we mailed our billing to a company in Dallas. This was 15 years ago. We tried doing it in-house, and we ended up outsourcing. So, I knew what I needed to put on from my end. Okay, here's the diagnosis code, here's the surgical code, and then we have actually an additional, the anesthesia code. And that was pretty much all I knew. I didn't know what was involved in credentialing. I didn't know what was involved in entering the data, how to follow up, how to call, how to deal with denials, how to appeal. I didn't know all that. That was done by those billers who knew what to take care of. And but just because I didn't know it doesn't mean I can't know it. And
well, right. I mean, and you certainly couldn't know all the codes that are used by all the different specialties that are out there either.
No, still don't. There's things called books, and there's websites. But I see what you have up here on the screen, and if I can be so bold.
Yeah, explain what that is.
Yeah, this is what, especially much more office-based. My specialty is not, in an office where patients come see me about their headaches or their low back pain or whatever. I'm an anesthesiologist, so mine's different. And what your licensees will learn is that every specialty, since they're focusing on different areas of medicine, will have different fee schedules like what you have. And I'm going to guess that this is, I don't know, is this an obstetrician? Because I see terms like antepartum and spontaneous abortion and missed abortion.
But that must be. I don't know where we got this. It was just a sample super bill, they call this, right? A super bill or a patient visit form. Yeah.
Yeah. I usually hear the term super bill. So if you want to look, I want to start with the right-hand column just for a minute, because those are diagnoses that physicians will give. You come in and, let's say you've got ear pain, and so the third one down is serous otitis media. That's an infection of the middle ear. Then there's those series of numbers out there, and that's called the ICD-9 code. Every single diagnosis has a code number, because anything that you submit for payment, they don't deal with words, they deal with numbers. And so this physician has, for his or her office, I guess that's the patient is Vanessa, I don't know, I'm not quite sure reading here, but has chosen the ones that best fit their practice. And these are often custom-made physician by physician. They choose what they see the most and they do the most, and they fill it in just to make it easier. It's like, okay, I see a lot of ear infections, so make sure that's on the diagnosis list. And then they just check off in that far column that this is the diagnosis I gave the patient today.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And then what do they do for the patient? So that's a CPT code. So, say it's an established patient over on the far left under B. It's a patient I've seen multiple times before. Ear infections, pretty quick and easy to assess and diagnose, so maybe they just do the 99212, relatively short visit, straightforward, one simple problem, and so that is the procedure code. And yes, then you check that off, and that's information that the billing personnel will need, because that's all entered into the pretty simple screen for the insurance company or Medicare. in order for them to be able to process this claim. And so every diagnosis has a code. Every kind of procedure has a code. Say you look on down a little more on the left-hand column under OB care, OB care usually is not charged by visit. It's charged by the entire pregnancy. It's like I charge this much money to follow you for the duration of your pregnancy and, usually I think 30 days out. So if it's routine OB care at the end of the pregnancy, that's what they check and bill. So,
and like you said, that goes into our system. Basically, the person who's receiving this data, in your case, you, the biller,
right.
Would just be getting this information from the doctor. How would you, get this information? On paper or?
There are several ways. With electronic medical records, one of the easiest ways is for, my billing system to be able to, basically my computer to be able to connect and talk with their computer system and to be able to download that patient data and then begin the processing. But if a practice, say they don't have an electronic medical system in yet, they don't have a big computerized chart, well, they can do like we did 15 years ago. We put all of our paperwork had carbons, and we literally ripped them apart, stuffed them in the mail, and shipped them off once a week. And another way is to do a secure fax line, so they can download it via fax. So you can get it by fax, snail mail, or a direct computer link. So there's a lot of different options so that you can serve all the physicians and all the other people that get to bill. It's not just physicians we're talking about here. So,
right.
I've got a potential client right now that's a psychotherapist, and he can bill for his services to insurance companies. Well, he doesn't have an electronic medical record. We're going to be dealing with paper or fax. We're still sorting that out. And, there's no need, he doesn't feel the need for an electronic medical record, and there's no need for him to have one in order for my company to take care of him billing-wise. So a lot of flexibility there.
Yeah, and then, of course, one of the ways you can get that data is through one of the services that you actually can offer to doctors, which is our online document management system, iDocs Now.
Well, that's true, too. That's true, where it's all cloud-based. And that's the nice thing about this software. And that's another thing I looked into. And I'm going to admit again, just so your potential licensees and other licensees out there will understand how little physicians can know about this. There are certainly, maybe, especially, the younger the docs, the more tech savvy they are. But the first question I was hearing was web-based versus server-based. I'm like, well, what does that mean?
Yeah.
And I had to research it. And pretty quickly, though, I figured out that, web-based was the future, server-based was past. And I was not interested in the server-based options that are out there. So web-based is the way to go, as far as that's what makes it so easy. You can be in Hawaii and use a password and log on and manage things. And the other beauty is so can your client. They have a password. They can log on and look at their accounts that you're doing for them 24/7 from any computer access. So it allows them the comfort, because physicians are multiple different kinds of people, just like every other group. But in general, we may be a little more controlling in some ways. And when it comes to the money, that's a little bit unnerving, just to mail it to Dallas and hope you get some money in your bank account at the end of the month. And so this way, they can go look anytime they want. And if their patient comes into the office and has a question about, well, do I really still owe anything, or what about my deductible, their staff can do the same. They can get on there, log in, see the status of the claim, what's been paid. So it really allows a lot of everyone to be much more in real time about what's going on with the payment system that's happening. So that's a real advantage to the web-based. I don't know why anyone would do server-based anymore.
Yeah, no, there's no need to in today's world. In fact, everything I think is moving to the cloud. Microsoft and Apple and
yeah.
Google and Yahoo, it's all cloud-based stuff now.
If you are say a single doc, very remote, rural kind of, simple as you can be practice, and you're not really that interested in even doing EMR, you might say, okay, I'm just going to do this the old-fashioned way and do a server, but I don't see the point. I think it's easier just to have it all serviced and maintained and upgraded by people who really know what they're doing.
Right.
And that's above my pay grade in the technology ability.
Well, it's a good thing we don't have to know a whole lot about that, because I know that we have, redundant servers out there where it's in two locations simultaneously and so forth in case one goes down and so forth.
Yeah.
But beyond that, I don't know a whole lot about what really goes on technologically to do that. I just know that, it's HIPAA certified, which means it's gone through all the testing that HIPAA, needs to know for patient privacy and all that through the government. So.
Yeah, I was going to say, maybe, I don't know if everyone listening would know what HIPAA refers to, but it's the series of federal laws that protect patient privacy in the medical matters, and that there's a little bit higher level of encryption that's required of anything that involves patient, sensitive patient data.
As regular backups and
and so, but that's the other thing. People that are doing their billing in their own office with a server, they have to deal with backing up and saving data and securing that in their office, and none of that has to be done with this web-based. When you log off, the people who do, how I say, we do billing all day, every day. Well, the people who do computers all day, every day are in the background making sure that all that is in compliant and safe and secure. And that's a huge thing. And HIPAA is a term that your licensees will definitely know when they go start talking to clinicians about working with them to take care of the billing for them.
Yeah. All right. So Laura's asking about the accounts and so forth, the people, the types of doctors that you have. What are the types of do you call on doctors that you know necessarily, or what types of doctors?
Well, I call on anyone who wants to hear me talk to them. But
good answer.
I haven't necessarily landed an account with every one of these, but certainly the psychotherapist, MDs and DOs. So I've talked with pain management, neurology, family practice, all the different specialties of medicine this applies to. But also remember things like physical therapists, because a lot of physical therapists, what's kind of odd is some of those actually have now PhDs in physical therapy, so they're a doctor of PT, and will have their own independent practice and need to do billing in order to get reimbursed for their services. Occupational therapists, speech pathologists, ambulance servers, services. So there's more than just physicians.
Well, there's dozens of different specialties, aren't there?
Oh, yeah, dozens of specialties, and chiropractors, that's another one.
Yep.
So there's more than, quote, doctors that need the service, whether they are choosing to do it in-house or want to outsource it to a company like what we're doing.
So you're non-discriminatory.
I am an equal opportunity businesswoman.
That's right. Well, and the sad thing is that there are so many doctors out there who feel like they can do this better, in-house. Talk to us about the problems that we're looking at right now in doctors that are having, there have been surveys taken. One of them is by, let's see, I've got a screen here that shows who this is by. Yeah, it's the Doctor Patient Medical Association Foundation. And they asked doctors about their attitudes on the future of medicine, and it was pretty bleak.
Yeah, I believe all this. I've read all these kind of things. I saw another report in the last couple of weeks that said that 60% of the physicians surveyed would quit today if they could.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's because of all the new stuff that's coming down in the Affordable Care Act.
Absolutely. I mean, it's just been snowballing over the past decade. But, Medicare is about to enact a 26% cut in reimbursement to physicians.
Oh, my goodness. You mean like coming up pretty quick here, huh?
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, boom, 26% cut. Because there's just simply too many, there's more people on Medicare now than the money can support. So their response is to say, well, we just have to quit paying as much out.
So for every $100 that the doctor was being able to bill, they'll now get just $76
for the Medicare. Correct.
Yeah.
For the Medicare. But and that's why your statistic here says 74% say they'll stop accepting Medicare patients, because they are having to make the decision of, and this is another point I want to make to your licensees, practicing medicine is very much a business, and they have to have enough money to pay their overhead. When you go in and you pay $50 for an office visit to your physician, that person's not putting $50 in his or her pocket. There's the overhead first, and so they're having to make the decision, where do I need to cut my losses in order to stay afloat? And, they're talking about, well, can we continue Medicaid? Can we continue taking Medicare? Do we just take all of commercial insurance, like the Aetna's, Blue Cross Blue Shield, because they tend to be a better reimbursement? This is another thing maybe your licensees don't know. Doctors don't set their fees. Insurance companies do.
Right.
And the only way that the doctor can take that insurance is to accept what the insurance company says that they will pay for the services rendered. So, I could charge $1 bazillion for the best anesthetic management possible, but that's not what's going to happen. Then they go to the contract and they say, oh, but this is what we're paying. And
so the insurance companies have done, I guess, studies and surveys on the average that's charged for that, and that's what they're going to pay, and no more.
Exactly. And that is the condition for the physician to be credentialed to accept that insurance. And that's why they say, I accept Blue Cross Blue Shield, but that means they have a contract with Blue Cross Blue Shield that they accept what that insurance company is willing to pay for services rendered. So physicians don't set the fees, and most people just don't know that. They don't understand that at all.
But that's kind of hard to grasp.
Yeah, but I believe everything that's on here. I hear it a lot. And one of the things, there's so many rules and regulations, and but the whole gist of things is they can't run a practice without the money coming in. And so if your licensees will really understand that before that doc pays himself or herself, there's all of the staff fees, and there's the rent for the building, and there's the electric bill, and there's the malpractice insurance, and the supplies that is required to run the office, and there's a lot of overhead. And so it's becoming, if they're dealing with a 25% pay cut on their Medicare population, well, what about the ophthalmologist who has 90% Medicare patients because he does cataracts? And who gets cataracts? Old people. And those are the people with Medicare. So their margin of profit is shrinking dramatically. And if a good billing company can come in and be diligent and say, I will work hard for your money, what I find in practices is that it's not so hard for the people in the practice to submit the claim. It's in the devil's in the detail in following up. Why was this declined? How do you appeal if necessary? When is this payment, you're calling the insurance. When is this payment going to hit the physician's bank account? But the nice thing is that this software has such great internal check systems. Then when an ABS licensee fills it in and hits enter, it goes through 98% of the time, at least. Very rare for there to be a bounce back for some technical or a data entry error.
Right.
So, yeah. And
that's called scrubbing. It scrubs the claim before it actually even is submitted. And, of course, since our clearinghouse is integrated within our system itself, it's not sent to a third-party clearinghouse that forwards it on, then that even makes it, the buck stops here. We have to make sure that claim gets through, or it's our fault. It's not anybody else. You just can't blame anybody else.
Nothing else happens. And your licensees or the potential ones, don't stress too much if you don't understand terms like scrubbing and clearing houses. You'll learn it in the session, the training week. You'll learn these terms that HIPAA and clearing houses. That's part of what Patrick and his group are out there doing, is to teach you during that week. And that's why I really think that someone who is completely new to all this is really best served by going for that week.
Yeah, I encourage everybody who invests in our training package to take advantage of that week for sure, because I would call it a mini MBA in the medical billing industry.
That's a good way to look at it. Agreed.
Yeah. All right. So here's a question from Michael. He's asking about how long you've been involved in this business, and are you at the point where you've replaced your income with this business? I don't think you've gotten to that point yet because you're still practicing, aren't you?
I've not gotten to that point yet. I've really, I have been involved technically, license-wise, a little over a year, but I have kind of gone real slowly because I'm still kind of ramping down from practice. It's not easy to just walk up and quit one day, but I'm working now part-time rather than full-time as a physician, and, am transitioning over and having fun doing it.
Well, and to replace your income, I'm sure you've got to have a considerable number of clients to be able to do that, too. Hey, we've got another doctor in training this week, by the way. We're doing training here this week in Dallas, and there's another MD in there, So I think the move is on as far as doctors realizing that there's actually, and again, I don't know what kind of income you have, Sally. I'm not asking that directly, of course, but I do know this, that I know what the average is for medical doctors, and we have licensees that are making twice that.
Well,
so, the potential is much greater.
The potential is greater, and I do foresee, because I'm really at the ramp-up point for me. I really see, and this may amaze the people listening, I will make more money doing this than I will as a physician.
Yeah, it's not hard to do because you basically have residual income for each client, and then you just continue to add clients until you get to the point where you want to. And by the way, we do have licensees who've reached a 7-figure revenue, annual revenue. So
that's impressive.
Yeah, the ceiling really is not there in this at all. You, as a physician, of course, can only help so many patients a day.
Well, mine is very much a one patient at a time kind of endeavor, versus, working with several people within my company all at the same time. And it is that. And, there's a part of me that's a little mixed feelings about, wow, I do like practicing medicine. There's a part of me that's like, God, do you really want to walk away completely from that? But I do see that in my future, yes.
Well, I've been very impressed with you, Dr. Combest, because you have been dedicated to this business. Like you said, you've been a licensee over a year since you went to the training, but you're still building the thing, even now part-time, which I think you just started that in September, wasn't it?
Is when I went part-time with my clinical duties. So, that first, and I'll just throw out for your licensees, I'm also a single parent. And, so there,
Yeah, you got other things to do, too.
There were some things, and what, I've kind of gone around, and it's like, okay, I got this situated and that one and this one, and, started ramping up some of the marketing in May, and then went part-time with my medical work in September. And, I'm planning for a February, booth at a medical meeting. Got a January talk in front of some physicians planned. And, the whole goal of that is all marketing. So it's really, for me, there are other people who've been able to just jump right in full force, which is fantastic for them. But that's actually the beauty of this, is that you can be out there 8 hours a day pounding away and grabbing everything that comes along, or you can do this a little bit more slowly as it fits your life. And I think that's a real good thing about it, because the actual data handling can be done 24/7.
Yeah, that's right. It's a great thing is you can work from midnight to 4 in the morning if you wanted to on this business.
That's right. If that's how it fits your schedule, you can be handling all those things at the time that best fits you. Now, at some point, the goal for everyone is, let's all have a great booming business and be full time and be out there. A lot of the work obviously has to be done during normal business hours, but the actual sitting down and entering the data, anytime, anywhere you got an internet.
Yeah, that's right.
Mm-hmm.
Now there's a few more questions on the board here, but not as many as I had thought. So I'm going to let you go here pretty quick,
okay.
Dr. Combest. I know you're busy, but folks, this is your chance to ask, a doctor. I mean, that's what this business is all about, right? Approaching doctors. And here's one that we have on the webinar today. So this is your chance. If you want to ask a question, type it in there. Hey, I put this slide back up here. Tell us why you called your company Prime Medicus Consulting. Why not Prime Medicus Medical Billing or something?
I really envisioned my company as, the core of it's going to be medical billing, but I really thought that I could have the potential, and this is not limited just because I'm a physician, but the potential to learn and be able to share other aspects of practice management with physicians. And part of who I've been meeting as I've been working this business and networking are people who also can provide other services to physicians that I don't. I met a gentleman not too long ago that provides outsourced HR services and focuses on medical clients. And, it allows me to be able to come in and be more of kind of a complete one-stop. And, there's a couple things about it I was still learning, but I found it interesting. I've met a couple of people who are officially calling themselves practice management consultants, and they may even have an MBA or a master's in healthcare administration, but they've never practiced medicine. So what makes them the expert? I've practiced, and so I wanted it to be broader than just medical billing. Plus, there are other services that ABS offers that clients can, avail themselves of, and I don't know how much you want to go into, like the iDocs and the send-out cards. Yeah.
Sure.
So there's more than just doing the billing. There are other things that are offered through ABS that your licensees can turn around and offer to help, and it helps the licensee's bottom line, other services to the physician practice. There's the coding, there's the audit guard. That's the one, to me, that's the one that I'm most passionate, maybe a little strong, but with the federal government making new rules about being able to come in and audit charts and demanding repayment.
I just ran across an article in, let's see if I can find it here, Medical Economics magazine last month. Had this article. It said, "Brace for the new wave of audits coming."
Oh,
so
yeah.
Kind of explain that to people. See, they may not know what we're really talking about here.
When a physician sees a patient that gets insurance from the federal government, whether it's any government, whether it's Medicare or Medicaid, they submit the billing information. Here's the code. Here's the diagnosis, code and the procedure code. So please submit per the contract. We'll just say $100. Make it easy. The government then says, well, since we have paid you money and since you are a participator in Medicare, we now have the right to walk into your office unannounced, like the power of the IRS, and demand to be able to audit. We want 50 charts going back to 2010 of the Medicare charts where we have paid you, and we are going to sit down with your charts, and based on what you, doctor, have documented, we want to make sure that what you saw in this patient justifies the level of service that you billed us for. And if we, the government, decide that you've kind of overstated how complex the visit was, then we're going to say that you should have charged less, and we're going to demand a refund of the difference. And a
fine of some kind, right?
Could be a fine, yes, up to $10,000 per occurrence.
Oh
And
my goodness! Wow.
that's actually my talk next month. It's going to be about these rack audits. So one thing that a physician can do is voluntarily send out some charts, HIPAA secure, to a independent third-party coding system, your audit guard, and have an unbiased observer basically go through and say, Doctor, we think your documentation does justify what you billed, or Doctor, we think you overcoded and billed more than you should have, or you undercoded and you could have billed even more. And it really gives some good volunteer feedback to the physician, and they get a very nice report back that they can keep in their office. So if they ever are audited by the government, the physician can pull this out and say, you know what, I have tried to learn how to, I have audited myself to try to make sure that I'm doing this correctly. And it would help lessen, the government would still say, well, we think here you owe us a refund, but we won't fine you because it does look like you're trying to be honest about it. Maybe this one was just a mistake. And so Audit Guard is the one that I think is for me as a physician, it kind of hits home the most about keeping us out of trouble. There's just no trouble like government trouble.
Yeah, Ronald, one of our listeners today, says also there have been fraudulent claims submitted.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and so they're auditing for that too.
And that's what they're looking for. They want to look for the deliberate fraud. How do you prove that, okay, this was an accidental one? Yeah. Well, one way to support your claim is to say, look, I've audited myself. I've taken an auditing class, and I've had my charts audited by an independent company to give me feedback on how good a job I'm doing. I'm making a good faith effort. Don't fine me $10,000 per occurrence.
Right.
Yeah.
And we might mention, because this can be confusing when people are looking at our business, they see all these different services and they think, well, now how much of this do I have to know about and do? So with our Audit Guard, of course, and the code write that you see there, that's done by certified medical coders that we have engaged with to do that for you. You guys, you're not doing the audit and you're not doing the coding or anything. This is all done for you, but it's great because you can position yourself as the consultant that can have all this stuff done for the doctor. Yeah,
they're basically the facilitator.
Yeah, that's right. You're just facilitating the connection that you have with us.
Yeah.
All right, so let me get to a couple more questions here. Let's see. This one is from Scott. Oh, I just deleted that, Scott. I'm sorry. I hit the delete button instead of clicking on it. Let me go back to Kathy's here. If you can type that back in, Scott. Sorry. Kathy's saying, how do you get past the gatekeeper to speak with the person who handles the accounts for doctors? That's a great question.
It is a great question. It is a very good question. And often the way is to kind of get around them through other venues besides just walking into their office. Obviously, it's really wonderful if the physician or the practice manager contacts your business through your website, which ABS also helps with providing. But if it's cold calling, sometimes it's persistence, sometimes it is just, a little bit of charm. I don't have any one answer because everyone's a little bit different on what they're going to respond to. And it also depends on who's in the back kind of making the rules. What you can do is ask when the practice manager and or the physician would be open to vendors, and could they make an appointment to come in, or could they at least, can you drop off some materials with your contact information on it? And, I've done it, and I know that a lot of times they're tossing it because they're not at the point of wanting the service. But it's at some point you're going to hit people who look at it and go, maybe it's been brewing in the back of their mind that something's not as good as it could be, and maybe it's time to look at another option for them. And so, but I've even heard that some practices have set up individual email accounts specifically for vendors So ask if there's one. Just
right.
to kind of, here's my personal email, and here's maybe one for patient questions, and here's one for vendors. I've heard of them doing that. So ask them, do you have a good day for vendors? Do you have a good email for vendors? Here's my information.
So you use some of our follow-up direct mail and emails and so forth that we teach to kind of do some drip marketing after
yes.
talking with them initially. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. But getting the website up and going is mandatory. I mean, it really is. You're probably not going to succeed in the business unless you take advantage of that. And everyone goes on the internet to look up. They're like, what? Maybe I need to try a billing company. They're going to get on the computer. Unless they're about 97 years old, they're going to go on the internet and type it in for their area. But if you get connections through people that aren't in your area, since this is web-based, you can take care of anyone in the country. That's right.
Yeah, we have licensees that have clients, all over the country.
That's right.
Okay, Scott typed his question back in. Thank you, Scott. Sorry, I hit the little, there's a little button that just got a trash can, and I, for some reason, clicked on that. He says, can you tell me about some of the objections that you hear once you get face-to-face with a decision maker or a physician? How do you deal with practices already outsourcing these services to somebody else?
Oh, well, if they're already outsourcing, I will have to say that it's not real frequent. Change is hard for some of them, so I'm not going to say that's not going to be your easiest client conversion.
No, that's right. And we tell you to position yourself kind of as the second choice. In other words, if something goes wrong, if you stay in contact with them like we teach you to do through the drip marketing, hopefully you're the one that they choose when they do decide to switch.
Yeah, and I have had that happen. Actually the very first person who ever contacted my company through the website did not take my offer, went with someone else. Yeah. Wanted everything very, very inexpensively, and I kind of, I made the decision that I had. You're not going
to be the Walmart, huh?
Yeah. I'm like, that's as low as I'm going to go. I understand, and so. This was actually the physician's wife who was a practice manager, and that's another point I want to get to in a moment. But about 4 months later, she called me again.
Oh, really? Oh.
Yeah.
So what is it about physicians? So a lot of physicians do let their wives be the office manager, huh?
Well, I don't have a wife, but that's okay.
Well, you brought it up just now. I'm sorry. I meant the spouse. I should have said the spouse.
Well, actually, what I was going to say is no matter, especially if it's the wife, but no matter what the relationship is between the physician and the practice manager, do not overlook the power that a practice manager can have in a lot of practices.
Yes,
and
amen.
Don't snub them.
No.
Don't snub that person. They are often the power when it comes to running the practice. There are physicians who are like, I want nothing to do with all that.
That's right.
Cram in 35 patients today. That's all I want to do. You take care of everything else.
Yeah.
So respect the fact that there are different power balances and different cultures in every practice, and involve the practice manager as much as possible. If you're going to extend an invitation, or if you're going to say, could I set up a meeting to come to your office? I would love to meet with both Dr. Smith and Mrs. Jones, your practice manager.
Yes. Oh, that's why that question earlier really had to do with the gatekeeper. Well, you don't necessarily want to get past that person. You want to engage that person and make them out to be the hero. They're the ones that found you and, can solve the problem.
But sometimes the gatekeeper is just the person at the front desk. If you're just walking in and just saying, hi, how are you? And I'm so-and-so, and this is my business. Sometimes the gatekeeper is simply the gatekeeper and not the decision maker. And so, it's engaging that person often just so you can get to the ones that are in the back office that are really making the decisions. And that's what I said. You keep going back and you try to initiate and maintain a relationship. And, I think a great idea, I haven't done it yet, but it's on my list of ideas to do, is have another talk more locally and make sure that it's physicians and their practice managers that are invited, more for a luncheon kind of scenario. So the one I'm doing in December will be more of like a dinner type situation, and so I thought, well, we'll just do the physicians and a guest, if they want to bring their spouse or something. But during the business hours, bring in that practice manager. Sure.
Ronald is saying, as a member of the AMA, have you taken the EHR satisfaction survey and have you reviewed the published results? If so, was ABS listed? Well, let me be real honest. Only, what percentage of American physicians are in the AMA? Less than 25%. Yeah, I knew it was going way down. It's way down, and a good chunk of those are either medical students or physician residents. And well, the AMA kind of pushed Obamacare, didn't they? They did. A lot of physicians are not real happy with the AMA, and so I am not a member. I'm a member of my specialty groups, but I'm not a member of the AMA. So Ronald, we do. Yeah, and sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt there, but I just wanted to address Ronald. There is we do have data that we can show you how we rank as far as our EMR. On the list of vendors that are out there, we're at the very bottom, meaning we are the least expensive EHR system that's out there, and yet we are the only one that has won 2 awards from the J.D. Powers and Associates satisfaction survey that they've done. So anyway, we would be glad to share that with you. Just get with your ABS rep about that, Ronald. And let's see, Laura is asking, and this will be the last question, Dr. Combest. Have you had success getting contracts with your lunch or dinner seminars? I don't think you've done enough of those to even... I have not. My first dinner one is in January. I'm looking to maybe in the spring do a lunch one. So I can't give her any success stories there yet. Yeah, but we have had lots of licensees, Laura, who have had a lot of success with those. In fact, a lady who's down here training this week, Tierney Martins from California, just signed up a doctor group with 24 doctors in it. And that's one thing I wanted to ask you about, Dr. Combest. You know, a lot of doctors, one of the questions I'm addressing here, this is from Janet. She says, aren't a lot of doctors joining groups? Yes. Well, they are in some cases, right? But that doesn't mean that we can't sign them up, because this is an actual licensee's client list that they've given to me, just to kind of show me that they have, one has just 2 doctors, as you can see in it there, Mary, and then some hospice that she's got signed up outside Colorado has 13 providers, and then one in Wisconsin has 10. So, if you look at the numbers and the amount of money that can be made from groups, those are great. Oh, yeah, absolutely. The number of people in the practice is not relevant. And also don't discount nurse practitioners and physician assistants. Because they see patients and they generate claims also. Whether they're working in a clinic with their supervising physician, they're on site with them, or if they're at maybe a satellite clinic. For example, my daughter about a month ago was bitten by a dog, and I go to the ER, and she's seen by a nurse practitioner, and so. And yet that generates a claim, sure. That generated a claim, exactly. And I think with the shortage of doctors that's coming down the line, there will be that many more PAs that are helping out and nurses that are generating those claims as well. Agreed. Well, Dr. Combest, we're right at the top of the hour. Thank you so much for your time, for being on here today. I know everybody on here appreciates the fact that you are an MD and they're able to hear from you as to why you make those decisions to move forward as an ABS licensee. Well, I do appreciate you having me on. You're welcome, and you let us know whatever we can do to help you. We're always here. Okay. Well, thank you so much. Goodbye, everyone. Okay. Good luck. Yeah. All right, so folks, I'm going to put up on the screen our training workshop and also our guarantee. Some of you may not realize that we're the only company that does the live training, and at the end of that training workshop, if for any reason you're not happy with what you saw during that whole week, yes, you can sit through the whole week. get all of our information, all the handouts, all of the proprietary information about how we teach you how to get clients that we've learned over the last 19 years. And if at the end you don't think this business is right for you, that's up to you, whatever reason, doesn't matter. Just tell any of our staff members and they'll get you a full refund of the license fee. We don't reimburse people, of course, for their travel and hotel, but you're going to spend less than $1,000 for that. So it's a pretty good way, folks, to find out whether or not what we're saying is true. So I hope this has been of value to you. We do these webinars every Wednesday at 3 o'clock Central Time. Just be sure and contact us if you'd like to know when the next one is. And we record these for those of you who